Revealed, how a millionaire father's unexpected intervention changed his daughter's life forever. Jessica woke before dawn, the weight of the world pressing on her chest. Morning light sneaked through the broken blinds of their tiny apartment in Maplewood, illuminating the clutter and chaos of her life. Just 17, she was a senior in high school, juggling classes, a part-time job at the local grocery store, and caring for her two younger siblings. And now, with her mother's debilitating illness casting a long shadow over their family, every day felt like climbing a mountain without a summit in sight. She slipped quietly into her mother's room, her heart aching seeing the woman who had always been her rock now frail and struggling. "I'll make breakfast," Jessica whispered, her own worries swallowed by the need to help. In those moments, she felt the warmth of resilience kindling within her. In stark contrast, her estranged father, Tom, had built an empire as a self-made millionaire, but had chosen riches over family. When he stumbled upon the community blog detailing the budget cuts threatening Jessica's school, it struck a nerve. Memories of a girl he left behind flooded back, birthday parties, school plays, laughter echoing down the halls. Compelled to act, he reached out, hoping to extend an olive branch. Their first meeting was electric, charged with tension. Jessica's gaze hardened, her anger simmering just below the surface. "You don't belong here," she shot back, her voice a mix of hurt and confusion. How could a man who had walked away from his family suddenly want to swoop in with solutions? To her, he was simply the stranger who chose power over love. As Tom unveiled plans for a lavish fundraiser to save the school, whispers rippled through the community. They didn't see a father trying to make amends, they saw an outsider flaunting his privilege. Jessica felt torn. Could embracing her father's world mean abandoning everything her mother had taught her about integrity and hard work? The days that followed felt like a battleground. Arguments erupted, and tears were shed. Jessica felt like a puppet caught in a grand performance, each string pulled by her loyalty to her mother and the life she knew. Yet, something electric sparked inside her. Her friends rallied, inspired by her spirit. Together, they organized a grassroots effort, gathering everyone from neighbors to teachers in their quest to save the school. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The community transformed. From bake sales to talent shows, people poured their hearts into the cause. The last event was slated to be the biggest yet, a concert meant to light up the town and prove that they wouldn't give in without a fight. As Jessica stood backstage, she felt that familiar tightness in her throat. Hope, mixed with anxiety, became her breath. Facing her father for the first time since the fundraiser began, she felt a change in the air. Suddenly, the crowd buzzed with anticipation. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the unexpected hit like a punch. The announcement that followed silenced the room, sending her world spiraling once more. In that moment, at the intersection of their two lives, she couldn't help but wonder, could a father's wealth, and his attempts at redemption, ever heal the wounds of absence? The moment hung heavy in the air. Jessica stood frozen, eyes wide, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The news was swift, cutting through the anticipation that had been electrifying the atmosphere just moments before. Her father stood by, his expression a mask of concern, but she couldn't focus on that. All she could hear was the echo of the announcement reverberating in her mind. The school was saved, but at a cost. The details washed over her, a controversial new policy, a loan, and the very foundations of the community she loved. Some in the crowd cheered, but Jessica felt a knot tighten in her gut. Was this truly the solution they needed? Or just a temporary bandage on a much deeper wound? As the applause swelled, a sense of betrayal crept in. To her, this felt like a hollow victory. They had gathered all their effort for something real, a grassroots movement born from struggle, yet here they were being handed a savior wrapped in a check. She watched the faces around her, some filled with joy and relief, while her own heart thudded heavily from the conflict inside her. Jessica. Her father's voice broke through her thoughts. He stepped closer, gauging her expression. This is good. The school will keep running. We can help so many students, he said, his enthusiasm palpable. She threw her hands up in frustration. You don't get it. She could feel the tension building, her voice rising above the music and laughter surrounding them. Your money can't replace what's already been lost. People here care about this school, not some big check from you. For a second, she saw a flicker of hurt in his eyes, the father she'd only known from her childhood memories battling for a place in the present. But the moment passed too quickly, and she was left staring at a man who had both built and broken their world. I'm trying to do what I can, he said, his tone faltering. Can't you see that? But could she? Jessica's body shook with a mix of anger and confusion. As she stepped back from him, the reality began to settle in that perhaps she wasn't just fighting for her mother's legacy or the school's survival. She was wrestling with her own identity. The night carried on, and while others celebrated, Jessica slipped away from the crowd into the shadows of the backstage area. She needed air, needed space to think. Leaning against the cool wall, she pressed her palms to her eyes, willing herself to stop the whirlwind of emotions. But silence wouldn't come. Instead, it was filled with the distant sounds of laughter and applause, reminding her that everything was shifting. Jess? Avery, her best friend, appeared, concern etched on her face. Are you okay? You seemed. I'm not, Jessica confessed, breathing heavily. None of this feels right. It feels like I'm caught in a game where I don't even know the rules. She could see the worry in Avery's eyes, the need to help her friend wrinkling her brow. Then something unexpected happened. Avery stepped closer, putting a hand on Jessica's shoulder. Maybe it's time you talk to him, understand what he is trying to do. It could be the beginning of something new, you know? Was it? Her heart fluttered at the thought, yet a wave of doubt suffocated that glimmer. What if digging deeper only led to more hurt? As she stood there, the sounds of the celebration continued to rise, teasing her, promising hope while she wrestled with the fear that change would only bring more loss. The truth weighed heavily on her. Could she really give her father a chance, or was that simply risking everything she had fought for? With unresolved emotions swirling, Jessica felt the moment pull her into two directions, to embrace or to resist. She took a deep breath, realizing the answer would reveal itself soon. But turning back toward the crowd, the answers were slipping away. In that pivotal moment, as the noise of the celebration echoed behind her, she had to decide, was she ready to confront the very man she had spent years trying to forget? And with that question lingering, she stepped forward. Jessica stood at the edge of the crowd, the vibrant lights flickering like a pulse beneath the night sky. Each cheer felt like a distant echo, highlighting the tumult of emotions that twisted inside her. She took a tentative step forward, her heart unwillingly drawn back toward the celebration. The cheers were for the school, a place that had become a sanctuary, but beneath it all lay a tangle of betrayal and confusion. Once again, she glanced toward her father, who was lost in conversation with a group of enthusiastic parents. He looked like a different person, radiating comfort and confidence in a way that made her chest tighten. It wasn't how she remembered him, cold and absent, a man wrapped in layers of wealth and obligations. Now, he seemed so eager to connect, to be part of the community he had so often stood apart from. Jess. Avery's voice broke her reverie, and she turned to find her friend watching her with a mix of encouragement and concern. You can do this. Just talk to him. If you don't, you'll never know. What was there to know? The past loomed heavy between them, full of missed opportunities and silences thicker than walls. Yet Avery's faith nudged something within Jessica, a spark of hope she had buried deep. As she crossed the space toward her father, each step felt like a leap into unknown territory. Questions raced through her mind. Would he understand? Could they change the course of their relationship? When she reached him, he glanced up, and for a moment, their gazes locked, the connection fluttering like a dying flame, desperately seeking to reignite. "Dad," the word caught in her throat, but she pressed on. "Can we talk?" His smile faltered for just a moment, but then his expression softened. "Of course, Jess. I was hoping you would." He stepped away from the group, leading her toward a quieter corner. There, the noise of the celebration faded into a soft murmur, replaced by the rhythm of their own heartbeat. "I wanted to say," her voice shook slightly, uncertainty washing over her. "I appreciate what you've done for the school," but the words hung there, heavy with the unsaid. "I know it's complex, but being involved like this means something to me," he interrupted, his hands gesturing earnestly. "I want to give back. I want to help in ways I never could before." Jessica's mind reeled. "But this isn't just about money. It's about commitment, about understanding. Do you even know what this place means to the people here?" He hesitated, his brows knitting together as if she had struck a chord. "No, maybe I didn't. But I want to learn. I want to understand. If you'd just let me." The softness in his voice pulled at her, and the anger she had felt began to crack. "It's not that easy, Dad. Trust isn't built in a day. I've spent so long not trusting you." "I know I've made mistakes," he admitted, his eyes reflecting regret. "But I'm here now. Can't we start over? Can we?" The question slipped from her lips, raw and vulnerable. She stood there, heart racing, a heartbeat away from making a decision that could change everything. Where they were stood felt fragile, like a bridge built on uncertain ground. But in that space, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Maybe they could build something different, something real. "I don't know," Jessica finally said, tears filling her eyes. "I just don't know if I can trust again." Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd, and both turned toward the sound. Jessica's heart sank as she watched the celebration continue, the excitement infecting the air. Still, in the brief silence that followed, the only sound was their breaths mingling with unspoken possibilities. "Please, let me show you," he urged, his voice low. In that pivotal moment, Jessica was faced with a choice: retreat into her past or step into the unknown with her father. As she gazed into his earnest eyes, she felt a deep question echo within her: could they really build a connection worth fighting for? And she took a deep breath, ready to decide. Just then, a loud shout split the air, cutting through the tension. "Hey, everyone! Get ready for the big reveal of our new program." The anxious excitement returned, but Jessica's thoughts were racing. Would the reveal help them, or would it deepen the rift? One thing was certain: the night was far from over. The night air hung thick with anticipation as Jessica's eyes flickered toward the stage, where the principal stood with a bright smile, ready to unveil a project that could reshape the school's future. There was an electricity in the crowd, an eager buzz that momentarily diverted attention away from her and her father. "Maybe this is what you need," her father murmured, nodding toward the stage, his voice barely audible over the rising cheers. "Something positive to focus on." Jessica just nodded, her heart still heavy. She wanted to believe that a change could happen within her father and their relationship, but doubt curled tightly around her thoughts. "Positive or not, everything just feels too uncertain between us." She could see the glimmer of excitement in his eyes, but it wasn't enough to overcome the emotions that swirled within her. The doubts, the memories of missed birthdays, of afternoons spent alone waiting for him to come home, loomed larger than anything that was happening on that stage. As the principal began to speak, Jessica's eyes glazed over. His voice faded into a distant monotone, drowned out by the rattle of her thoughts. She caught snippets like community project, new resources for students, and dedication words that felt paired with empty promises. She felt a pang at the thought that perhaps these plans would cement her father's position from the outside, while she remained trapped within, unable to bridge the gap. "Look, Jess," her father's steady voice cut through her haze. "Why don't we go back to that conversation later? Just for tonight, let us enjoy the event. We can start fresh after." "Enjoy it? This is supposed to be fun." Jessica felt a rush of frustration. "You think we can just ignore everything that has happened? This whole celebration feels like an illusion to me. What if it all stops right here? Then we'll face it together," he replied, more firmly. The earnestness in his eyes was back, and for a moment, it disarmed her. It was not the man she remembered, but someone fighting to hold his ground. As if on cue, the principal's voice lifted again, capturing everyone's attention. "And now, we would like to introduce the heart of our project, a mentorship program connecting our students with professionals in the community. This initiative is generously funded by one of our own." Jessica's heart raced as the spotlight shifted to her father. "No," she whispered, dread creeping along the edges of her thoughts. "Please don't." But the crowd erupted into applause, and there was no turning back. He stepped into the limelight, the admiration of the community surrounding him like a warm embrace. The moment felt surreal. Was this celebration for the school, or was it for him? Watching her father stand there, a glister of pride on his face, Jessica felt a surge of anger battling against the vulnerability that had been slowly unearthing itself. She wanted to scream. Did he even know how it felt to sit in the shadows, watching him thrive in a community he had barely been part of? "Jessica," Avery whispered, sidling up beside her. This could be his chance to prove himself. He might really want to help. A flicker of hope lingered in Avery's voice, echoing Jessica's heart. What if this was more than just self-interest? What if he truly wanted to reconnect through community service? "Do you think it would change anything?" she murmured, still trapped in her inner conflict. "I think you have to decide what it means for you. What do you want from him?" Jessica turned her gaze back to her father. Confidence beamed from him, a stark contrast to the unresolved feelings inside her. He was finally stepping up, but what if his involvement was too little, too late? The crowd cheered again, drowning Jessica's thoughts. In that moment, she realized she had a choice to make. Was it time to embrace the uncertainty and give him a chance, or was she ready to walk away for good? As her heart pounded in her ears, she shifted her focus from the cheers to the face of the man who had once felt so far away. The evening was electric with possibilities, a bridge precariously held together by hope and fear. Would she risk everything on the unknown, or protect her heart from further hurt? "Hey, everyone! Are you ready for the big announcement?" The principal's booming voice pierced through her thoughts. Jessica held her breath, wondering just how much everything was about to change. The principal's voice burst through the air with excitement. "Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce the man behind this initiative, Jessica's father, Mr. Matthews." The applause was thunderous. Jessica's heart sank. She couldn't breathe. Everyone turned to see her father approach the podium, his tall frame radiating an air of authority and pride. As he took the microphone, Jessica felt a mixture of dread and curiosity. This was where he would either sink or swim. She scanned the crowd, looking for a familiar face, but found only smiles and admiration aimed at him. "Thank you, everyone." He smiled brightly, and his voice sounded steady, strong. "This project means a great deal to me, but what matters most is the potential it offers our students. As someone who went through struggles in my own youth, I want to help others find their path and succeed." It was a good speech. Inspiring, even. But her mind raced with thoughts that clashed against the genuine words he spoke. He was the same man who hadn't been there to help her through her struggles. "Jessica, focus," Avery urged softly, nudging her arm. "Just listen." With every word, Jessica felt conflicting emotions bubble up. She remembered being 6 and standing at the window, waiting for him to come home. All those moments when his absence felt like an unhealed wound, and now here he was, a hero in front of all these people. I've made mistakes, he continued, and for a moment, everything fell silent. But I am dedicated to making amends. I want to provide guidance and mentorship for students like my daughter. The crowd erupted again, and Jessica felt her heart twist. Was he really trying to change? A Taylor Swift song started playing in the background, and the cheers faded into an echo as she glanced around. She saw peers nodding in agreement, totally on board with embracing his mission. But what did they know? Did they truly understand the weight he was asking her to carry? He's making a real commitment, Avery whispered, almost like she could read Jessica's mind. Maybe he needs to prove himself to you and to himself. Jessica's response was swallowed by a lump in her throat. Could she allow a potential new beginning to rise from the ashes of their chaotic past? Doubt clawed into her resolve. Uncertainty gripped her more fiercely than before. How could she trust him when it felt like she was the only one left holding on to the pain? Her father's words shifted again. This mentorship doesn't just stop with me. I want to connect each of you with someone who can help guide you. So tonight, I invite all of you to write down your goals. The room filled with murmurs of excitement. Share your dreams. Let us work together. Her father's energy crackled, and Jessica couldn't deny she felt it too, the lure of hope mingling with fear. But within her churned a startling realization. What if this project was a way for him to deflect his responsibilities to her? What if the community could have him, but she would still be here, alone? Jessica, take a deep breath, Avery said gently. What are you thinking? I don't know, is this really just about him, or can it be about me too? What if I write something and it makes no difference? A chance is a chance, Avery urged, squeezing her hand. You can open the door or choose to stay behind it. She looked back at her father. He folded his hands, appearing genuine, but layers of hurt cast shadows over her heart. What if she wrote something honest and raw, the truth of their relationship? Would he see it? Either way, I'm here for you, Avery said, her voice laced with sincerity. At that moment, Jessica knew she was at a crossroads. Her heart beat frantically as thoughts collided in a whirlwind of choice and consequence. Suddenly a wave of determination washed over her. What if sharing her truth could shift the dynamic? She took a deep breath, feeling the room move in slow motion around her as she grappled with her emotions. This would be her opportunity to confront the past, to lay bare the facade. Could she find the courage to step into the unknown, as the noise around her surged again? A thought struck like lightning. Maybe it wasn't just about her father or the community project. This was about her, and her journey moving forward. With each passing second, her decision loomed on the horizon. Would she embrace the uncertainty and let herself be vulnerable? Jessica's fingers trembled as she reached for a pen, fueled by a mix of trepidation and resolve. What would she write? The moment stretched infinitely as she stared at the blank canvas awaiting her words, feeling the weight of a universe whispering possibilities. What would she reveal in this moment of truth? Jessica's heart raced as she gripped the pen like it was a lifeline. The page before her remained a stark emptiness, a blank slate filled with the potential of honesty and vulnerability. But then came the flood. Her thoughts spilled out, desperate to be seen. I want to be heard, she started, her letters awkward but bold. For years, I felt like I didn't matter. I needed you on my hard days, but you were absent. I'm scared of what trusting you means, but I want to try. Just as she was reaching the heart of her feelings, she sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Her father's voice was still rising, capturing the crowd with his charm, but something inside her was shifting too. Each word she wrote was an act of defiance against the years of hurt. A backdrop of laughter and encouragement filled the space, but for Jessica, it was as if the world had gone quiet. She could feel her hands shaking as she continued to write, pouring out her truth as if her heart was an open wound seeking healing. I want us to build something real. Not just for the school or for the community, but for us, for my family. Can we be different this time? A soft whisper next to her brought her gaze back. Avery leaned in closer. "You're doing great, Jess. Keep going." There was such warmth in her friend's support, a tether in a whirlpool of emotion. She glanced back at her father. He was animated, engaging with students, and basking in the adoration. But with that distance came clarity. He was not the man she needed him to be yet, not today. It felt surreal, watching him from this new perspective. He was still her father, but standing far removed in a world that did not include her struggles. As she punctuated her final line, Jessica took a deep breath. The weight of her words rested heavily on her chest. Would he even read it? Would it matter? She witnessed students around her throwing pen after pen into the air almost jubilantly, and part of her longed to join in that carefree joy while another part anchored her, kept her grounded. "Jessica?" The principal's voice sliced through her thoughts. "Would you like to share your goals with the group?" The question hung in the air, thick with expectation. Jessica's heart raced. Sharing was scary. Exposing her vulnerability felt like standing naked in front of the world. Yet, something deep within sparked maybe the truth was worth the risk. She found herself standing, her mind racing faster than her feet could carry her to the front of the room. A hush fell over the crowd as she approached the microphone. Her father's wide eyes met hers, and there was a flicker of concern that only her heart could decipher. She stammered, heart pounding as she held the microphone close. "I wrote something." Voices around her began to shift, the admiration cooling into a collective curiosity. There it was again, the pressure of their attention, but this time, it was different. With trembling hands, she flipped over the page from her drafted goals. "I think the most important thing for me is to connect with my dad. I want to understand how our past can help shape our future." The room sat in silence. A moment felt like an eternity. "Maybe," she continued, courage pulling at her tongue, "we can both try harder. I want to give him a chance and find out what a real family could look like." Her heart beat wild within her chest. That was it. She had put her truth into the universe, and suddenly, it felt like she was paving a path inward, where the pain of yesterday could actually lead to something brighter. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. Shock radiated from the audience, but Jessica stood firm, no longer uncertain. "That's what I want," she finished, voice growing strong. "A real connection, no matter how hard it is." Then she noticed him. Her father's expression, a mix of pride and vulnerability, reflected back at her, a moment suspended in time. Could this be the turning point? As cheers erupted and applause filled her ears, she stepped back, unsure of the risks she'd just taken but relieved she had finally spoken her heart. What would her father say? Would he rise to meet her challenge, or would he retreat behind the wall he had built? The air buzzed with energy, hope crackling like static electricity between them. Jessica felt alive, but anxious. The moment of truth had only just begun. What would happen next? The applause enveloped Jessica, a warm blanket of encouragement that wrapped around her shoulders. Yet, as the cheers reverberated in her ears, dread settled in the pit of her stomach. What if her father didn't respond the way she hoped? She glanced at him again, searching for a sign, any sign that he understood her desire for connection. He remained standing, his face caught between expressions of surprise and pride, his mouth slightly open as though he was still processing the moment. For a heartbeat, the space around them felt electric, but then the energy shifted, as if a cloud had covered the sun. Jessica's hope flickered uncertainly. "Wow, Jess," Avery's voice broke through the overwhelming buzz. She stepped closer, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "You were incredible up there. I can't believe you had the courage to share that." But Jessica could hardly respond. She felt unmoored, her thoughts spiraling. What if this was a mistake? A voice, deep within her, drummed the tune of self-doubt. She wanted to believe in the connection she craved, but what if this was just a fleeting moment that would dissolve when the applause ended? "Hey, are you okay?" Avery asked, concern now tinting her enthusiasm. Just then, the principal's voice cut through the noise. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing such personal goals. This kind of vulnerability can inspire others. And Mr. Thompson, would you like to share your thoughts? Jessica's father stepped to the forefront, gripping the microphone with a seriousness that made the room hush again. As he searched the faces around him, Jessica braced herself. Each passing second felt like an eternity, waiting for him to speak. First of all, I just want to say how proud I am of my daughter, he began, his voice steady, yet softer than she'd ever heard. Standing up here, exposing your heart, that takes real strength. I know I haven't been there the way you needed me. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't simply her father speaking, it was a revelation. She saw in his eyes a dawning realization, one that mirrored her own. I want to try, too, he said, vulnerability creeping into his tone. It's never too late. I want to connect with you, Jess. I want to understand you better. Tears brimmed in Jessica's eyes, and a swell of emotions rushed through her. Was this real? She felt the flicker of hope ignite into something rich and vibrant, a flame of possibility. Maybe we can start with lunch next week? He suggested, his gaze intense and unwavering. The audience erupted in applause again, but Jessica stood frozen, absorbing the weight of his words. A lunch. Just the two of them. The thought felt like a leap from a high cliff, thrilling and terrifying. As she searched his face, the uncertainty from before began to shift like a tide. His vulnerability, the cracks in his facade, made her realize they were both stepping into unknown territory. Could they rebuild something real? Jessica's heart raced, brighter than before. I'd like that, she finally replied, her voice steadier than she felt. A genuine smile spread across his face, and for the first time, she sensed warmth radiate from him, a glimmer of a new beginning. As the applause continued, Jessica felt the world around her fade. It was just him and her right now, an unspoken pact bridging years of silence. But with every cheer from the crowd, a new question surfaced in her mind: what if the journey to healing was just beginning? The moment was intoxicating, but she knew real transformation required more than just one sincere conversation. It demanded work, commitment, and the courage to face painful truths. Maybe their shared lunch would unravel layers they hadn't yet explored? Would they face the ghosts of their past, or perhaps transform them into stepping stones toward a brighter future? Jessica took a deep breath, heart racing again as she welcomed the uncertainty with cautious optimism. What wouldn't she do to understand the depth of this fragile new bond? The air crackled around them, saturated with the unexpected promise of what lay ahead, and her heart hummed with the possibility of healing. What awaited them at that lunch? Would they both be ready to dive into the past they had shared, or would they falter before the truth? Days slipped by faster than Jessica expected. Each morning brought a mix of excitement and anxiety as she thought about the lunch with her father. The invitation hung between them like a fragile thread, holding the promise of connection. But could it really lead them somewhere healing? On the morning of their lunch, Jessica's stomach churned. She stood in front of the mirror, a sea of questions swirling in her mind. How should she dress? Would it even matter? She finally settled on a simple blue dress, one that made her feel both confident and comfortable. Still, her hands shook slightly as she glanced at the clock. Time felt like an enemy today. As she drove to the small cafe they had chosen, memories of the past flooded her mind. Each twist and turn in the road mirrored the complexity of their relationship. Would they revisit the pain, or could they find common ground? She parked, her heart racing in anticipation. Walking into the cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee enveloped her, making her feel momentarily grounded. She spotted her father at a corner table, fidgeting with the napkin in front of him. Something about his demeanor unsettled her, a mixture of hope and fear. It was as if he was just as nervous as she was. "Hey, Dad," she greeted, sitting down across from him. The air crackled, heavy with unsaid thoughts. "Hi, Jess," he replied softly, meeting her gaze. A moment of silence passed between them, charged with unspoken words. Jessica took a breath, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm glad we're doing this." "Me too. I've been thinking a lot about what you said at the assembly," he began, his brow furrowed in thought. "You showed real courage, Jess. I admire that." His words warmed her, but doubt crept back in. "You know it's been hard not having you around. I guess I want to understand why." "I'm sorry." He looked down, his voice cracking. "I thought my work was what mattered most. I didn't realize how much I hurt you." Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. This was the opening she had longed for. "It's just that sometimes, Dad, I felt invisible. Like all those moments we could have shared. I took you for granted," he interrupted, urgency lacing his tone. "I was so focused on providing that I forgot to be present. I want to change that." Jessica felt a knot loosen in her chest, but still, her heart raced. "What does that look like for you?" "I guess it starts with more than just lunch. I want to be a part of your life, whatever that means for you." Her heart surged with a mix of relief and caution. Could he really be serious? "I want to show you places I've spent time in. Maybe we can find things to enjoy together," he continued. "But I need you to tell me what you want right now. I want to listen." The cafe hummed around them, but all she could hear was the sincerity in his voice. It was an unfamiliar sound, yet it felt like home. "I want to feel free to be myself. All of myself." He nodded, gathering her words like a promise. "Then let us work on it. Step by step." The rest of their lunch buzzed with tentative conversation, laughter weaving into cautious glimpses of vulnerability. As the meal drew to a close, leaving remnants of their hopeful exchanges, Jessica couldn't help but smile. This wasn't a solution, but it was a beginning. They stepped outside together, the sun casting a new light on what had felt so dark for so long. But as they walked towards their cars, a question lingered in her mind: how would they navigate the challenges that lay ahead? Would they face those deep-seated fears together, or would old habits hold them back? As they parted, Jessica felt both hopeful and anxious. Would their newfound connection withstand the trials of their past, or could it evolve into something far more enduring? The next few weeks unfolded in a dance of cautious optimism for Jessica. Her father made good on his promise, reaching out with small gestures that felt monumental after years of silence. Phone calls filled with awkward laughter turned into text messages buzzing with inside jokes. It was like a fragile twig sprouting in the spring, a tentative new life forming after a long winter. One Saturday, he suggested they visit an art exhibit downtown. Jessica hesitated, unsure if she was ready to step into a shared interest. Art had always been a sanctuary for her, a realm where she found herself amid colors and creativity. Could she share that with him? Would he understand? "Dad, are you sure you want to do this?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Absolutely," he replied, the warmth in his tone reassuring. "I want to know what makes you tick, and if art speaks to you, I want to hear your thoughts." With that, Jess smiled, feeling encouraged. They met outside the gallery, the urban buzz surrounding them as vibrant as the artwork inside. The bright colors and emotions in each piece sparked conversations that flowed more easily than she ever expected. They debated interpretations, laughter mixing with occasional silence, but rather than feeling heavy, those pauses held promise. Later, as they stood in front of a canvas splattered with chaotic strokes, Jessica felt a flicker of vulnerability surge. "It reminds me of our past," she said, glancing sideways at him. Her father studied her for a moment. "How so?" "It's raw, messy yet beautiful in its own way. Like we are, I guess." He nodded slowly, as if her words carved a channel peer through years of guardedness. "Exactly. We're both a bit messy. But we can create our own beauty from that." His eyes glimmered with understanding. It was the kind of maturity she had yearned for during their years apart. But beneath this spark of progress lurked familiar fears. Would he retreat back into his shell, back to the demands of his work? Would moments like this become just fleeting memories? On the drive home, Jessica wrestled with her thoughts. "Do you think things will stay this way?" she asked nervously. "I don't know," he admitted, glancing at her before returning his focus to the road. "But I'm committed to trying. I won't let work get in the way again." Just then, a sense of unease settled around them like a fog. Could those words carry weight beyond this moment? By the time they arrived at their separate homes, Jessica felt the familiar tug of uncertainty. Their budding connection was unlike anything she had experienced, yet questions still lingered heavy and unanswered. What if the old patterns returned? What if he didn't truly change? That night, she lay in bed, thoughts swirling like a frenzied canvas in her mind. Everything was shifting, but would that shift be enough to carry them both out of the shadows of the past? As she finally drifted off, the endless possibilities of the future whispered to her, promising change but shrouded in doubt. Would they find a way to embrace their new reality, or would they falter under the weight of their history? And in the deep of her sleep, a dream without clarity awaited, revelations of fear and hope intertwining, demanding to be unraveled. What awaited Jessica next in this journey of rediscovery? The sun broke through Jessica's window like a soft promise, bathing her room in golden light. She stirred awake, a flutter of excitement coursing through her. Today was the day. Her father would be picking her up for their second lunch date, their second chance at rebuilding what had once felt lost forever. She dressed carefully, choosing a vibrant sunflower dress that mirrored her mood. She caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, a broad smile spreading across her face. This felt different. There was potential in the air today, a fresh layer of clarity that whispered hope. As she waited on the front porch, Jessica's heart thudded, echoing the anticipation that had been building all week. The familiar rumble of her father's car broke the morning calm. He stepped out, looking dapper yet approachable, a hint of nervousness shadowing his features. "Hey, Jess," he called, waving as he approached. "You look fantastic." "Thanks, Dad. You look good too." They exchanged smiles that felt tender and unfamiliar, but surprisingly warm. They settled into the cafe, the ambience buzzing with cheerful chatter. This time, there was no hesitation. They dove straight into conversation, sharing stories that danced between laughter and vulnerability. "I thought maybe we could revisit the art exhibit after lunch," her father suggested casually. "I'd love to hear more about what speaks to you." Jessica felt a swell of emotion in her chest. He was trying so earnestly. "That sounds amazing," she replied. As the meal continued, Jessica leaned into her father, asking about his childhood and the decisions that had led him away from the family. She listened intently, absorbing the layers of untold stories. He opened up about regrets, capturing the weight of missed moments, and she felt each confession stitching together their frayed bond. "I assumed providing would be enough," he admitted. "But now I see that it wasn't. I was scared to face my own failures." His words hit her like a surge of understanding. They weren't just about healing, they were about growth for both of them. "You weren't the only one who was scared," she confessed. "I built walls too, thinking that would protect me." The vulnerability between them hung thick in the air. There was no rush to fill the silence. Instead, they held each other's gaze, searching, understanding, and slowly beginning to forgive. After lunch, they made their way to the art exhibit. As they walked, Jessica reflected on how each step felt lighter. Standing together in front of their favorite painting, she took a deep breath, letting the art wash over them. "Do you see the chaos in it?" she asked him. "That's our past, raw and turbulent." "I see it," he nodded. "But I also see the beauty emerging from it. Maybe we can create something just as beautiful by facing it together." Tears brimmed in her eyes, a sudden warmth swelling in her chest. "You're right. I want us to create that together, a new future." They spent the afternoon diving into their shared passion for art, laughing at each other's interpretations and sparking conversations that were once outside their reach. It became evident that they were not just mending an old relationship, they were cultivating a new one, a dynamic and evolving bond rooted in vulnerability and understanding. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the exhibit, Jessica realized something profound. This wasn't merely about reconciling the past, it was about stepping into a shared horizon of possibilities. Hand in hand, they shared visions of the future, plans for school activities, family dinners, and shared hobbies. Later, as they headed for their cars, her father paused, looking into her eyes, and Jessica felt a spark of electricity. "Thank you for giving me this chance, Jess. I know I haven't earned your trust yet, but I'm committed to proving myself. I want to trust you, Dad. I want us to be real," she replied earnestly. In that moment, the air crackled with hope and determination. They were standing on the edge of something beautiful, stepping toward a kind of relationship that was both exciting and filled with unknowns. Jessica felt certain that while the journey would have its challenges, they had taken an important step forward. As her father drove away, she took a deep breath, embracing the weightlessness of her heart. For the first time in years, she felt free, a beautiful transformation showcasing the resilience of family. This was just the beginning, an unfinished canvas with splashes of color waiting to unfold. The road ahead was still uncertain, but now it shimmered with possibilities, and she was ready. If you enjoyed this transformation and want to be a part of more inspiring stories, you need to subscribe now. Hit that like button, every click really helps to keep this momentum going. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts on Jessica's journey and your own feelings about family and healing. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beaming transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Let us keep this amazing community growing.